Is it that you've already been in the community? Is it that you have children enrolled in school? We set the criteria based on what we know our labor market to be. So I'm going to take you through what some of those criteria are, and then I'll tell you about the businesses in the region that have utilized the program. So the focus and the ultimate goal of this is to retain skilled workers, to keep them here. The previous pilot was really successful. We had about 87% retention rate, which is very high for skilled immigrants, because once you get permanent residency, you can go anywhere you want. You don't have to stay. We managed to keep 87%. It's tailored to priority sectors in our region. And for this year, this number is now outdated. They've given us 400 allocations just for 2025. Is the largest in the province. It's one of the largest in the country in terms of this particular pilot. So in order to be eligible, you have to have a full-time non-seasonal job offer. So this does definitely impact some of the seasonal businesses that also need access to skilled labor, but when it comes to IRCC and the EI system, it has to be a permanent full-time job. The minimum wage criteria is $22 an hour. You have to work for one of the designated employers. We have to have a high minimum of high school education or higher, and have the appropriate 1 year of work experience. So if you were a security guard and now you want to be an office worker, you have to demonstrate that you've had at least 1 year of work experience in that region or in that sector. You have to meet the required language levels, which is actually pretty high. We've set it higher than the national standard, and you must intend to reside. And these are some of the reasons that we can turn down applications in our region, and we have done. These are the sectors that we have chosen for priorities. So health sector, education, law, social service, community services, sales and service, although we have limited that recently within sales and service, we've eliminated the ability for fast food and gas stations to participate. The reason for that is because that's where we saw the most amount of fraud in the program. Trades and transport is another priority sector, manufacturing, and some of the codes that are eligible, the national occupational codes that are eligible are like early childhood education, community service worker, carpenters, restaurant managers, those kinds of sectors. So those are the priorities within the program. So to date, so we really had our first intake in June. We've had 522 individual employers in our region apply. Out of that 522, 350-ish have been designated, which means they've been approved to participate. The reason an employer would not be designated is if they didn't fit one of the sectors, but they applied anyways, or they didn't provide all of the information, but they applied anyways, or they didn't attend some of the mandatory training that's required. But to date, we've had 348 employers designated, and the next application window for us is in November. So we have Armstrong spell machine as one sector based on our data set. We can't pull it apart. But so far, since June, there's been 30 employers approved in the Armstrong spell machine region. It equates to 70 individual candidates that have been approved. And these are mostly in sectors like healthcare, manufacturing, social service, trucking, and trades. So it's made an impact for some of the employers in the region, and has certainly assisted them in retaining skilled labor in some of these hard to fill jobs. So I'll wait for questions at the end, but the other project that I wanted to talk about is the new Rail Trail Readiness Project that we have just launched in September. So this project's objective is to assist the business community in capitalizing on the economic opportunity that the rail trail will provide. Now, I know that there's challenges, well aware of the challenges that that we've experienced, or that the Rail Trail Society has experienced. And we've been in touch with them regularly, but we do feel like this is the right time for this particular project. So the intention is to increase the visibility of businesses, making them rail trail destinations, to enhance the customer experience for the rail trail users, to develop marketing strategies that will be tailored, that businesses are able to tailor and use within their businesses in order to attract users and to increase overall sales and their customer base. So the communities within this, you can click through all of those. The communities that are participating are Sicamous, Enderby, and Armstrong. So those are where we focused our energies. So the very first activity that has happened is the consultant that we have hired, who's fantastic and has been all over the province working on projects like this, has gone through the region and done a bit of an assessment of what the infrastructure currently is, met with the appropriate bodies to find out what the intention is for all of the infrastructure all the way through the trail, and to understand and see what readiness businesses have in our communities. So he's done that assessment. The next phase of the project will be to reach out to some of the additional stakeholders and then to hold workshops. So there'll be individual one-on-one workshops, or not one-on-one workshops, group-based workshops in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce for businesses to attend. And there'll also be virtual workshops that businesses can attend. These are like an hour and a half, 2-hour sessions on high level, what can business do to help draw trail users into their business, thereby increasing economic development. And then 20 businesses within the entire region of the project will be selected for one-on-one support, which means the consultant will go into their business. They will have a conversation about what the business already has, what infrastructure they might need, what additional supports they might need in order to get there. So again, the timeline really is from October until March. This is a quick project. It's kind of a one and done. It's been supported through many partners in the region, but financially in partnership with Community Futures Shuswap, Community Futures North Okanagan, and ETCBC, along with the partners that are offering a lot of in-kind support. So that is the rail trail project that I wanted to update you on, as well as the RCIP project. What kind of questions do you have? Or do you have?
Councillor Velster. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I think you caught it there at the end, but the funding for the one-on-one support for businesses with the consultant, where's the funding coming from?
It's coming from the 2 Community Futures offices and ETCBC. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not seeing it, but Leah, I was going to ask, I know you got the consultant's report and you're sitting on that tightly, I guess, but I'm hoping there will be some excitement to be announced for the local business in Armstrong with the rail trail coming. Hopefully that was part of those findings.
Yeah, announcements I'm not sure of, but I know that what we want to do is prepare the businesses now so that they have kind of a full season to fully be prepared and then really be able to capitalize on it when everything opens up. In talking with Phil with the rail trail, I know that there's an overpass that has to be built. I recognize that, but there is still a loop that connects to the rail trail going around North Enderby Road. So there's still a lot of opportunities, and obviously Armstrong is one of the starting places. So when they look at the numbers that they've had this summer, they had 300 people a day that they were able to track on the north end of that trail. There's just no reason that same economic opportunity can't be realized here. It will be realized in some capacity here. The people will come to start the trail here. And so there is a lot of, again, opportunity to be had economically.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you, Your Worship. That was a lovely presentation. Thank you very much. I'm just wondering, you mentioned the 20 businesses that you're going to choose to help develop their projects. I was just wondering what the criteria was to pick those 20 businesses.
It's really up to the businesses. At the end of the day, hopefully lots of people will take advantage of the workshops and the training. It'll be a first come, first serve. The first people to put their hand in the air to say, I would really like for this to happen for my business, he will spend the time with them, up to 4 hours per business. Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to also say that I think the lead that you guys have taken on this program is excellent, and the number of businesses that are attracted, the number of people that are come to work at those businesses locally that's just a success story. And I'm not sure how you managed to get some variance from sort of federal and provincial rules to bring this forward, but it looks like it's working. Like, I mean, this is just a good news, positive story.
Yeah, we haven't been involved provincially or federally with sort of with like the ETSI money is obviously regional economic development dollars. When it comes to like building the trail and the infrastructure of the trail, we're not involved, obviously, any of
No,
that.
no, I was sort of, we're referring to the businesses that are signing.
I
up
see.
to- Yeah.
Yes, the
And
other
be
program.
able to choose program or choose candidates and take candidates out of the program that don't qualify. To
Mhm.
have that ability to do that
Yeah.
at this level of government, I think is a success story.
It's
Um,
huge part of the success of it for us to be able to identify that criteria ourselves
Yeah.
as a region. Obviously, there's a committee that we have that helps with that. But it is part of the reason it's so successful. So it's not the federal government saying this is how this is going to go. They're looking at the other way around. It's unprecedented in the world of immigration.
Absolutely. And you have the vision to know what we require locally, and it's really hard for that to be dictated from Ottawa. So it's quite
Agreed.
nice to see that local perspective
Yes.
and once again, what looks like a success to me from the numbers you're
Yeah,
providing
it's
us.
going really well. And thank you to the city of Armstrong for supporting that initiative.
All right, and I'll just ask, was there any other questions up to our people zooming in? Did you have any comments or questions? Not seeing any?
Nothing from Ryan.
Thank you so much for your time here today, Leah. We always
you.
appreciate you coming
Thank you
in.
for having me.
Thank you. And moving right along then, I guess we'll have a report by Chantel regarding, the authorization for the council meeting outside of the municipal boundary. Did you want to speak to that, Chantel?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. The purpose of this report tonight is to seek council's approval for the upcoming joint council meeting with the Township of Spalmachine. It is taking place outside of the city's municipal boundaries. And so this is a procedural step to ensure that we can legally meet outside of boundaries under the provisions of the charter. The meeting is scheduled for October 14th. As you're all aware, it's a place held in your calendars. And it will take place at the township's council chambers. Per the charter, we must pass a resolution to authorize any meeting held outside of our boundaries because our current council procedure bylaw doesn't allow that by default. Public notice and record keeping requirements will be met to ensure we are in legislative compliance, and it is therefore my recommendation that council authorizes the City of Armstrong Township of Spalmachine Joint Council Meeting of October 14th to take place outside of the City of Armstrong municipal boundaries at the Township of Spalmachine Council Chambers pursuant to Section 134(1) subsection 2B of the Community Charter. Thank you.
Thank you. And a mover, please. Councillor Drapulis, seconder, Councillor Weiner, thank you. All those in favor?
Okay, can I just make one comment before we vote, Your Worship?
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, a question to the corporate officer. Would it make sense for council to consider amending the bylaw so that it's not quite as administratively burdensome to have to do a report each time we're holding these meetings, seeing as we are likely going to have more joint council meetings or in the future?
Thank you, Councillor Nietzsche, and through your worship. The short answer is yes, but there's going to be a series of recommendations that are likely going to be coming from the service reviews to our procedural bylaws to deal with this exact issue in terms of the meeting schedules and the process that's being looked at. So yeah, short answer is yes, there's going to be some stuff coming forward to council.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Nietzsche. And on that, we will call the vote. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And up next, report by Mr. Martins, Chief Financial Officer, regarding the tangible capital asset policy.
Thank you, Worship. The policy that's in front of you dictates essentially what kinds of assets we capitalize and what instances we don't, as well as it provides guidance on amortization, which used to be called depreciation many years ago, but it's now called amortization, as well as procedures that are in place for disposing of surplus equipment. So a number of adjustments are required Most of them are unrelated to each other, but I will go over these for council so that there's some understanding as to what's going on here. So for new assets, up until prior to 2024's year end, any new asset that was put into service was fully amortized in its first year. The city's auditors had some issues with that practice and suggested that we needed to make a change to that. And they had the suggestion they had made was a little too onerous, and I said no to that. And we went back and forth a few times, and we ended up compromising on our current practice, which what we're doing now is any new asset gets amortized starting in the month that it is put into service. So a number of whole months in its first year. So that's one change as well. Useful lives are being amended in the policies, particularly for underground linear assets for water, sewer, and storm. Those assets historically for the city have been amortized over a 100-year useful life, and we realized that that was a bit too long. Industry standard or best practice is 75 years for underground linear infrastructure. So that change happened in 2025. There was an adjustment that was made to the books to deal with that. The net effect is that net assets were reduced by approximately $1.5 million because of the accelerated amortization up to 2025. So that also means that amortization expense each year is going to be going up by approximately $90,000 for all currently held infrastructure. But those expenses are non-cash expenses, so it's a book entry. It doesn't affect our tax base at all. So a couple of other changes that are being suggested is that for water infrastructure, the non-linear water infrastructure that we have is being amortized over 50 years, so that needs to be reflected in the policy. As well for sewer infrastructure, now that we're relining sewer mains rather than replacing some of them, we're adding an additional 40 years of useful life to those those sewer mains. So that needs to also be reflected in the policy that the amortization for some is 40 years. As well, we've added amenities to the buildings category. What that is essentially is anything that is on the property, but not the building itself, but it could be a parking lot or landscaping, that sort of thing. So though the useful life of 10 years plus reflects those amenities for those assets. And in regards to disposal, again, this is for surplus equipment, primarily public works, vehicles and equipment. The policy is being amended in regards to appropriate methods of disposing those pieces of equipment. Essentially, it's adding the use of a contracted auctioning service, as well as ensuring that not just the proceeds, but the net proceeds of direct costs be put back into the reserve where the funding came from originally. So again, all of these amendments, most of them unrelated, but it's staff's recommendation that these be accepted and approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. So the motion is that council approve the revisions to the tangible capital asset policy as presented by the Chief Financial Officer on October 6th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Wayner, seconded by Councillor Valstar, and I'll call questions. Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I asked my question already, just how this related to the fire commission, and there's a separate policy, so that's unrelated. So that was it.
Thank you, Councillor Wayner. Anybody else? Anybody zooming in? Seeing no questions, then I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that will be carried. Thank you very much for that. And Ms. Cordell, Development Permit 25013 amendment.
Thank you, Your Worship. Chantel, can you bring the presentation up? You're going to have to be my clicker as well. So this permit is going to look very familiar because we just dealt with this permit in June. This is for the dance studio. They have, oh, look at that, it's working. They have developed a partnership with another business. And because of that partnership, they have a need to expand the footprint of the building. So they have come back to ask that that footprint be expanded. It still falls within the same OCP designations and the same zoning designation. Why is it? Here you can see this, for one, this picture is slightly different than the one you have in your report because they just sent this updated version to me right before the meeting. The footprint, you can see the expansion in the footprint out into the rear parking lot. And the official community plan says any expansion of a footprint of a building has to come back to council for the amendment. So that's why we're here. They're going basically from 3,650 square meters to 5,178 meters squared on each floor. There are some changes to the exterior of the building as well. They've added a deck on the front and the back so that the staff can access that as they would like for lunch or whatever they might need. And of course, they've added a spot for new signage for the new business when they're ready to update that. Sorry. And then this is just more of those images from different angles. So the building basically in form is the same, just with some slight tweaks. They simultaneously asked for some small variances. These were considered minor variances and have been dealt with at the staff level for one parking stall and for a change to the permeable surface. They're talking about going from a gravel parking lot to a paved parking lot. They'll still be required to deal with all the storm on site so they don't have higher flows than pre-development. So those have been approved at a staff level. So my recommendation today is that development permit 2513 DP to amend development permit 2507 DP be approved to amend the approved building design as shown in the updated application package dated September 19th, 2025. And if I could actually amend that to the version that I received today, so dated October 6th, 2025. And that's my recommendation.
Very good. Thanks, Ms. Cordell. Or do we have a mover, first of all? Thank you, Councillor Drapla. Second, Councillor Todd. And any questions? Only comment. Oh, Councillor Weiner, thank you.
Just gonna ask, I recognize it was dealt with at the staff level, but I'm just curious where we're at with the cash in lieu of parking policy and if anything's needed to maybe bring that forward for a future work plan or something like that.
Through your worship to Councillor Rayner, yeah, that's definitely on the list. And we'll have to see which areas it applies to once we get there. It's in the zoning bylaw. We just don't have a charge for it. And I believe last time it came forward, there was an agreement on the charge. So we'll need to bring that forward and get that sorted. It's definitely on our list of priorities.
Thank you.
The only other question or comment I had is just ensuring that we have enough right of way in the front still, whether it's a bike path or a sidewalk or whatever we're going to be planning for down that side. Everything still fits into that package.
Thank you, Your Worship, not through your worship to your worship. They actually haven't changed anything in the front. They haven't moved it forward or anything. The right of way remains what it was before.
Thank you very much. Seeing no further questions, I will then call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Cordell. And then the complete communities report 5.4 on the gap analysis.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is a bit of an update to the report that we had at the Committee of the Whole a few weeks ago. We have had the complete communities report somewhat updated to reflect the comments from council, but also to reflect a few things that we noticed in the maps that needed updating. So Urban Systems has done that, and the version that you have in your package is the updated version. The plan does identify some gaps in services for both parkland and I would say commercial services, particularly food services throughout the community. For my report, I focused on looking at what we had for municipal land and where parkland could be expanded, because primarily that's what we have direct control over. We do have areas throughout the community that are zoned for neighborhood commercial or for future commercial where there could be future services built as the market kind of indicates, but we don't have direct control over this. So when I went through the report, it looks to me like the land that we have available for expansion of parkland isn't in the areas really that they identified, kind of on the eastern part of Rosedale or kind of central in that kind of Van Cleek, Heather, that sort of portion of town. So I think if we are going to look at expanding park services in that gap area, then we need to look at a bit of a bigger picture conversation. So either we could look at developing a bit of a parkland acquisition strategy. We could look at updating the official community plan to target some areas and have, I've seen OCPs developed with sort of a vague designation of a park in this area. So it doesn't sterilize any individual property from development, but that shows the intent of having a park in that area. Or we could look at developing a formal parks and open spaces plan, including that parkland acquisition strategy. But my recommendation would be, if council's interested in that, that we consider that in the context of our whole work planning and council strategic priorities, because it's a big job. So my recommendation today is that the report entitled Complete Communities Report and Parkland Gap Analysis, dated October 6th, from the Manager of Planning Services, be received for information, and that council endorse the Complete Communities Report.
Thank you, Lori. And we have do we have a mover for that? Councillor Drapla, thank you. Second, Councillor Todd. Any questions, please? Not seeing any through our Zoom companions. Then I will call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Cordell. And next, bylaws. 6 point, am I correct? Yeah, sorry, 6.1, the zoning bylaw 1921-24, amendment bylaw number 1939-2025 adoption. So that the zoning bylaw 1921-24, amendment bylaw number 1939-2025 be adopted. We've had 3 readings and this will be for adoption. We have a mover, Councillor Valstar, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Drapla, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Weiner.
Just reading section 3A of the bylaw, or sorry, of the notes here, that's saying that if a campsite permits units without integrated bathrooms, there must be 1 bathroom for every 3 sites. I'm just curious, would a porta potty satisfy that, or does it actually need to be a bathroom closed?
Through your worship to Councillor Weiner, it doesn't specify, so I think it would be something that we would have to discuss. My understanding is they have no intention of having units that don't have washrooms there. We just put that in just in case something changes in the future.
Yes, I thought that was my interpretation too, because most RVs have their own facilities. So that would exclude, and I don't see tenting in a parking lot. So that was my take on it. Councilor Weiner.
Yeah, not knowing for sure what may or may not be allowed as far as, even a tent trailer or something like that, but also understanding that some people don't like to use the bathrooms in their trailers because then they have to empty it. It's a consideration as well. But just a thought that I had as far as the use goes. And I guess the other question, I guess that's a question I asked earlier, was just about the noise, and it sounds like it'd be just an education component if there was an issue with noise in that area, with the use of generators, and that if there was an issue, we'd bring it forward and to consider that later. For me, I'm a bit concerned about how drawn out that process would be. So I think I think for a pilot, yeah, I'd like to see the pilot go ahead, but for me, it just doesn't there's a few gaps there that I want to see closed. One being power and addressing the potential of noise and considering that a bit further. And then even just closing the door on the bathrooms because it's an unknown whether or not they're going to be used or not. So in this particular circumstance, not that I'm against the pilot, just a few details, I'll be voting against it.
Actually, also another couple of things I saw. Seems to be written. Some of it is sort of written specifically for the new development. The terminology campsite, I just want to ensure that there's no spillover from this document to our existing campsites in the community, that it wouldn't affect them. A, and B, unfortunately, Mr. Smith's just left under the bylaws thing. There's a statement regarding diesel engines and not just engines running for more than for an extended period of time. And I was curious what the difference was between those.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as to your first question, this is embedded specifically within that zone. So it only would affect campsites within that zone, not any of the other campsites throughout the community. And actually, it's interesting because I pulled this from a really old version of the bylaw where campsites were permitted in the RVs, and these were the regulations at that time. And then in terms of the diesel, I just need to refresh my. Oh, in the good neighbor bylaw. I see what you mean. Yeah, so Mr. Smith, if he's back, in terms of, I don't know why it specifies diesel specifically, but in general, the noise from this development can't impact the neighbors, regardless of the source of the noise, whether it's generators or loud partiers or what it may be. The good neighbor bylaw will apply to it.
Yeah, I just wanted to ensure that wasn't an out because we specify that type of engine versus engine. That was all. That was just my only comment on that. So as long as you're sure that it's not going to cause us any situation moving forward, then that's great. Any further question? Hearing none, then I will call the vote. All those in favor? Councillor Fowler, did you get your hand up? So that will be a split decision again. Councillor Nietzsche, Councillor Weiner, and Mayor Kramer are opposed, and the other 4 makes it a carried motion, but there are 3 people opposed to it. And that shall pass anyways. And next, we are moving on to the permissive tax exemption bylaw number 1929-2024. That'll be for the first 3 readings. That 2025-2028 permissive tax exemption bylaw number 1929-2024 amended bylaw that number 1940-2025 be read first, second, and third time by title only. Mover. We have somebody to move that. Thank you, Councillor Weiner. Second by Councillor Todd. And we'll ask if there's any questions. Not seeing any, then I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that will be carried unanimously. And that next, the City of Armstrong rates, fees, and charges establishment bylaw number 1916-2023, amendment bylaw number 1942-2025 be adopted. Do we have a mover on that, please? Councillor Drapula, second by Councillor Todd. Any questions? Councillor Fowler.
Yeah, I was just on, if you go down, quite a few of these now have actual costs there. When it comes to something like the bench or the tree donations for actual costs, that's the cost of establishing them and then nothing for maintenance. I'm not sure exactly what actual costs mean on something that's living and needs to have maintenance.
Mr. Martins.
Thank you, Your Worship. In answer to Councillor Fowler's question, the fees and charges for something that you had mentioned, it would be the original, the initial setup charges, not the maintenance. So the maintaining, the ongoing charge Ongoing expenses going forward would be the city's responsibility, but it's the initial setup and installation would be part of this bylaw, and that's what the cost is referring to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martins. Was there any further questions? Seeing none, then I will call the vote. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And next, that the City of Armstrong 2025-2029 Financial Plan Bylaw number 1933, 2025, Amendment Bylaw number 1943, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time by title only. Do we have a mover, please? Councillor Valstar, seconded by Councillor Todd. Are there any questions on that bylaw? Seeing none, I will call the vote then. All those in favor? And that will be carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Up next is the correspondence. We received a letter from the Okanagan Regional Library for a funding request from the CEO. And with that, I'd like to propose a motion that council refers the Okanagan Regional Library funding request dated September 10th, 2025, and received by council at its October 6th, 2025 regular meeting to the 2026 budget deliberations. Do we have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor Todd, and second by Councillor Drapla. Were there any questions? I know we had a discussion about this previously, and yes, we all believe it's a great idea. So on that note, we will call the vote. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And under new business, Councillor Wayner, you have a report regarding the Armstrong Spell Machine Chamber of Commerce, I believe.
Yeah, I think everybody, thank you, Your Worship. I think everybody had a chance to hopefully look it over and give it a read. I think the main things here to highlight will be that the coming AGM, that the chamber may be reaching out to ask someone to speak at the AGM from council as well as the liaison or the mayor. So just keep that on the back of your mind as far as what's going on with the cities and how that might impact the businesses. The IPE parking pilot program was a big success this year. And Patty will be bringing more about that forward later. Just some things for us to think about before that comes forward is that they're going to be looking for a pre-approval of the signage for next year of some kind so that they can roll right into the program. And then they want to consider allowing the businesses to use other medium ways to put the sign up. Some businesses didn't have a post in front of their business, so some consideration for that. And then Patty will be bringing forward, or she'll be she'll have soon a business community impact survey, which is underway. A big thing that came forward I was interested in from the meeting was that the Music in the Park had 1,220 attendees at one of their events, the Dirt Road Kings. So it's been a huge success. I think a lot of people have gone to it and they've seen the success of the Music in the Park, and that they raised $3,480 for donations for the food bank, and that 341 items were collected. So there's an increase in dollars and a decrease in the food, but my understanding is that dollars go a long ways with the food bank. Local businesses donated $15,000 towards the event. And that Patty really echoed that a lot of this would not have been, well, the event wouldn't be successful without the hard work of Rhonda. She's put a lot of effort into making that event successful. She organizes it and looks after all the events. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wayner, and thank you to the Chambers. Wonderful events. Those Friday night Music in the Parks are great. I attended many of them myself, and it was great. Me and Neil had a couple of discussions on the popularity, trying to guess how many people were in the park on several nights. So well done. That's all I got to say about that. Well done. Did anybody else want to have a report? Councillor Velstar.
Yes, thank you very much. I didn't write a report for this one. This is for the September 7th Parks and Recreation. It was a fairly small meeting, but the big highlight that came out of it was that we had a presentation or a delegation, sorry, from the Omaha, the Okanagan minor hockey association or something like that. We had one dressing room that was going to be open. It was the one that the Knights had been in prior, and they requested to use it. And that, from what I understand, the request was granted, and that that they have taken over and put up nameplates inside there, and the kids are super excited to be playing hockey with their own locker. And I believe they have 7 or 9 home games at Sunbelt this year, so that's super exciting.
Great. Thank you very much. Councillor Todd.
Just like to mention something about the UBCM. I went to the FIFA Community Engagement Forum, and one of the things they were talking about was that the window for just getting out there was starting in October, and I imagine Patty's already involved in that, getting the FIFA stuff, and so we can have watch parties during the season or during the games. And I was going to mention that at the next Park and Recreation meeting as well. We can get everybody on board. It should be a wonderful time. Everybody should have a great time.
The only problem being that we had that many people attend the Dirt Road Kings, you'll have to pay for or hold it in 2 different areas.
We have to keep it under 1,000 people for it to be free. So
Anybody else? Looking at our Zoom contingent. Yes, Councillor Fowler. I don't think your mic's on. Councillor Fowler, we're trying to regain to hear you.
There, can you hear me?
We got you now. Go ahead.
Okay. I can't see you, but that's all right. I did write up a report for UBCM and some of the stuff that's been going on since the last meeting, but I can't seem to access a report with my Zoom on. So I know there was a couple of things. We had a sterile insect release meeting on Friday, and the new BC Fruit Growers Association Executive Director Adrian Arts was talking about the success of the fruit growing in the region with the good weather we had. And it's come as a bit of a break for the peaches and the cherries. We had some of the nicest cherry crop ever, in history, the biggest crop, but it's flooded the market. So it didn't help the market prices for the growers very much. So it kind of comes and goes. And but the weather has been great in the markets, and the fruit has been great this year too. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay.
And
And then I do have a bit of a written report for UBCM, but maybe it'd be smarter just to submit it for the next council meeting, and that way it doesn't take so long to go over it. I had 3 ministers' meetings. One of them was very positive. 2 of them were normal. And also, I don't think I mentioned at the last council meeting, but we had the opening of the section and the ferry part in Sicamous for the rail trail, and that was very well received. And the ministers' meeting we had in Victoria was very positive about just get her done. We kind of like that. So other than that, I can't do both. I'm challenged. Oh, just a minute. Here it is. I got it. Yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind activity, that's for sure. We had the semi-annual meeting from Municipal Finance Authority, and I have the information here for anybody that would like to see it. I'm sure you don't want me to go over all the stats. We had, I also joined Councillor Valstar at the Municipal Insurance AGM, the big first session of that. And then several meetings, several workshops that were very informative and interesting. I thought that UBCM this year, although it was quite a struggle getting to everything and walking back and forth, and I thought that it was really a good UBCM. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Fowler. Anybody else? I'd just like to take an opportunity. I also enjoyed UBCM, and I do have a bit of a report written up. I will talk about a couple of quick points, but first and foremost, I wanted to congratulate Councillor Fowler on her award at UBCM for 20 years of service. She got to receive her award in front of a large contingent of her peers. And well done to you. She was accompanied by Councillor Valstar to that event. And I understand it was quite the evening. So congratulations, Councillor Fowler. Well
Thank you
done.
very much. Thank you for making that possible.
All right. Yeah, it was a busy time at UBCM. I just wanted to point out that on Monday, I spent the day at it was called Get It Done BC, and it was put on by Resource Works. It was an all-day event regarding essentially our mining, oil, natural gas in the province, and where we fare on the world market and how we're going to develop it and stuff. And it was very interesting because it was put on by a group of experts, not by a group of politicians. So it wasn't tainted. The information wasn't tainted in any way, shape, or form. And I think that was probably one of the best things I've ever done. They did have speakers who were politicians, some, but so Adrian Dix was there, Stuart Miller, Barry Penner, Bill Thielman, Mayor Locke, Brad West, former Premier Christy Clark, and then experts throughout the mining, forestry, and natural gas. It was both locally and internationally. It was an exceptional conference. And if they present something like that again, I highly recommend that you go and have your mind enlightened. It was truly incredible. It was really nice to hear from I can't say her name, a lovely lady from Bloomberg Energy. She works in Singapore, and that is her job, is to sell natural gas across the world. And she had a very interesting perspective on BC's natural gas development market. The reason I bring this up is because a common theme throughout the whole conference was how poor and broke our provinces and our country is. And things need to happen in a real hurry for us to be able to continue to pay the way for healthcare services and grant ability and everything else for each municipality in the country, not just in the province. So I'm hoping the people that were in attendance were listening, and I hope we can move forward quickly on some of these projects. And there's no easy solution, but we need to chart a path, and we got to get on with it. We can't take 5 and 10 years to develop projects any longer. And First Nations consultation is still very, very important. I don't know how we get over that hurdle or that barrier, but it's something that we need to find a path forward on. There was lots of interesting conversation on manufactured homes and how they can help our housing industry and the low numbers of houses that are available, doing prefab homes, which was kind of interesting. Once again, they do present problems because they're built in different parts of the province. And once they're sealed up at the factory, you can't see the plumbing or the electrical. So how do you make that work to do a building inspection in your community? But there's a path forward there also. Lots of interesting meetings. It was a great workshop on the Cowichan tribe decision. That was great. And I also had the opportunity to meet with a delegation from Williams Lake, the mayor and a councillor, regarding the success they had with the Atlantic Power Cogen plant up there. And we were able to have a discussion with them and provide some feedback to the township of Spalmachine, who's trying to help Tolko along. We're sort of the second in on that one. They got the lead, but we were able to have some discussions. And yeah, I think I can leave it at that. But it was a very, very interesting, busy time once again. So on that note, I think I will be quiet. Next, did anybody else have anything they want to say? No? Then we will look to for a motion that council proceeds in camera pursuant to section 90, subsection 1E of the community charter, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of lands or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. Looking for, thank you, Councillor Todd. Second, Councillor Valstar. All those in favor? And that will carry. We'll take a couple minute recess and get restarted, and we'll get right back to you.